for all practical purposes, these two rounds are identical in muzzle energy. They're both 115 grain projectiles. They have a little bit different hollow point cavity design, as you'd expect. The 9mm is a little bit wider. All 12, no issues. Before I get into this week's test, I do want to say a quick word about trigger discipline, because I realize looking at these videos with my new Shield Plus in 30 Super Carry, I have demonstrated some atrocious trigger discipline. First, let's clear this pistol. It was loaded. Now, as you can see, it is clear. Nothing in the chamber. Okay. Here is how I have gotten used to keeping my trigger finger off the trigger. This is maybe not the correct way to do it. They always say put your finger up on the frame above the trigger, and to me that's a bit of an awkward position. But this pistol is a little bit, just a tiny bit bigger than a lot of the little tiny 380 type pocket guns that I demonstrate. And so in the videos, my finger has been slipping kind of to the side of the trigger. So what I need to do is learn the proper practice of putting my finger up on the frame of the gun. Now, at one point, I was getting ready to demo the lightness of the trigger pull, of the trigger brake. A couple of things I love. One is the trigger. There is nothing but a low hill. There's a rise in the ground. If I did have a round in this gun before I demonstrated that trigger, it wouldn't have gone anywhere but into the dirt on my left. But you can't see that in the video. So it looks like I'm at the range, I'm shooting at a target this way, and now I swing the gun to my left to demonstrate the trigger. That is right out. Do not do that. That is, I was on a private range that belongs to my family. There was no one else within a half a mile of me. And like I said, there's a little hill to the left. I often shoot in that direction because it's perfectly safe. There's a good backstop. But the audience doesn't know that. So I wanted to clarify that. Do not do what I did at a regular range where you have people to your left and where you have shooting stations to your left and right. Do not do that under any circumstances except where you know it is completely safe to shoot in that direction. Remember, never point your firearm at anything you are unwilling to destroy. All right. With that introduction out of the way, awkward segue into tonight's test. Enjoy the video. Well, today we're introducing a new round to the channel. That being, of course, 30 Super Carry. We're gonna do a quick comparison with 9mm because it just so happens that I have a 9mm that's almost the same size as my new Smith & Wesson Shield Plus. It's ironically, the 9mm is actually slightly smaller. Now, Federal advertises the 30 Super Carry as being kind of a compromise is the wrong word, but as fitting into the niche between 380 and 9mm as far as muzzle energy, as far as power is concerned. So far, however, it's only available in guns with otherwise 9mm frames. It's kind of like introducing a new shotgun gauge and then, oh, but by the way, you'll only be able to buy it in 12 gauge frames. So far, it seems a lot more like a skinny 9mm than like anything else. That having been said, it would appear superficially that this round obsoletes the 9mm. And this is what I'm talking about. It has all of the advantages on paper over 9mm that 9mm has on paper over 40 Smith & Wesson, which is now widely regarded as an obsolete caliber. I don't think so. I like 40 better than 9, but does the 30 Super Carry replace the 9mm? Yes, maybe you're taking a little bit of a step down in power, but is it worth the trade-off when you consider the dramatic increase in capacity? And for most people, the answer, at least on paper, should be yes, because if you prefer the 9mm to the 40 Smith & Wesson, you ought to prefer the 30 Super to the 9mm. All right. It just so happens that Speer Gold Dot has produced a 115 grain version of both of these calibers. So we're going to test 5 of them across the Pro Chrono out of these similarly sized guns with similar barrel lengths and see how close the 30 Super Carry comes to the muzzle energy of the 9mm. First up, we'll run the 9. From about 5 feet away. $1,100. 1067. 1087. 1100. And 1123. High 1123, low 1067. Average was 1,095 feet per second. All right. Next up, we'll try the 30 Super Carry. Shooting from the same distance. $1,087. 1,082. 1,089. 1,096. 1103. Really similar muzzle energy. A high of 1103, a low of 1,082, an average of 1,091. So I would say, for all practical purposes, these two rounds are identical in muzzle energy. They're both 115 grain projectiles, both made by Speer Gold Dot. They have a little bit different hollow point cavity design, as you'd expect. The 9mm is a little bit wider than the 30 Super Carry. But so far, I mean, give me the extra 2 rounds of capacity, right? I'll take the 30 over the 9. But will that muzzle energy equality translate into penetration and expansion equality? We'll test that out next week. Thanks, folks. This is Dave for DDR. Have a great week. All 12, no issues.